Hi everybody, welcome to the brand new Semtech podcast, the WAN Network Show. I am Rémi Laurin, Director of LoRaWAN Networks at Semtech and Chairman of the LoRa Alliance LoRaWAN Operator Community. I am very excited for this first episode of this insightful journey interviewing LoRaWAN and public network operators and LoRaWAN experts across the globe. Today, that's a great day. We are honored to feature Connexin, LoRaWAN operator in the UK, represented by Ralph Varcoe, Chief Growth Officer and Managing Director IoT at Connexin. Ralph, please introduce yourself. Welcome. Let us know your company, your project, and tell the audience what makes Connexin unique in the IoT space.
Well, what an intro. Thank you very much, Rémi. It's amazing to be here on this first episode of this brand new podcast. So thank you. And that intro, you say what my title is. It's got quite a lot of words in it. And basically, I'm the Chief Growth Officer, so essentially everything to do with sales and marketing and partnerships and development of the business for Connexin. There are two bits of Connexin. The first part is telecoms. So we, in the UK, we're an altnet. So we are digging and laying our own fiber. We're connecting up many thousands of homes to give them very fast, great internet, great broadband, full fiber. And we're connecting up businesses as well with telecom services and the sort of services that go around that. The other half of the business is the IoT business. And that's where I'm also wearing a second hat as the MD of that IoT business unit. And that's the bit that we're going to be talking about today. But the two elements are very closely linked. With the fiber part of our business, we're connecting individuals, we're connecting communities with the greatest speed of broadband that you could hope for. And on the IoT side of the business, we're connecting devices, things, we're pulling data from the outside world, from sensors and meters and cameras, and we're bringing all of that data into the center, into a platform, enabling that to be aggregated with data that companies already have so that that can be turned into insight, that insight to intelligence, and then that can drive outcomes. So it's all about connecting individuals with each other, with their communities, and with the organizations that they represent or the councils that are looking after them in the various different areas of the country. That is what our mission is, to make sure that we're connecting the digital world with the physical and real world for better outcomes for people.
Very interesting. Interesting to know that in IoT, LoRaWAN public operators are changing the game. It's not only connectivity, you are climbing up the value chain. Could you share what type of LoRaWAN public networks you are deploying in the UK, or maybe where you are deploying in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, we have an ambition to be a national LoRaWAN network. It's publicly stated on our website. You know, if you look at the market in any country and you say, who are the operators for mobile? And you can easily, in the UK, you can go, oh, well, that's Vodafone, or it's O2, or it's 3, or EE. But you can't do the same when it comes to the LoRaWAN networks. If you say, who is the LoRaWAN network provider in the UK? You're going to look at it and go, well, it's actually a bit of a fragmented market. You have hobbyists that are connecting devices and gateways through to run proofs of concept and to develop new technology. And then you have lots of proofs of concept within councils and companies all over the place. And it's not very well joined up. So one of the things that we are doing is saying, well, actually, you want to have an enterprise-grade LoRaWAN network. It's fine to be a hobbyist and not to mind that much whether or not data packets get through and, you know, the integrity of it and the security. But actually, if you're a community if you're a business, if you're a council, a health authority, or a water utility, you need to make sure that that network is going to be safe, secure, that the packets are going to be delivered when they say they're going to be delivered, so that you've got real-time information that's coming through into the platform. So we are working with a number of councils, water utilities, health organizations to roll out the network for them to enable that data transfer to be done in real time, safely and securely. We're building out on the basis of where we're seeing customer success. So to give you some example, we as an organization of Connexin, we were born and bred in Hull. Hull is in Yorkshire, across on the east coast, or very close to the east coast, on the Humber estuary. And we are therefore very close with Hull City Council. In fact, the first smart project that we put in place quite a number of years ago now was with Hull City Council, where we looked at everything from the network through to the platform to enable Hull to become a smarter environment. So we have a LoRaWAN network in Hull. We have a LoRaWAN network deployment in Sheffield, where we are supporting Amy, who effectively does the bin and the street cleaning on behalf of Sheffield City Council. And we have therefore put an extensive LoRaWAN network in place to enable sensors in bins to communicate and actually make Amy more intelligent about how they are putting trucks out on the street and emptying the bins at the right time, so that the streets are always clean and that the residents love where they live because there isn't rubbish all over the place. So there's a huge LoRaWAN network that we've deployed there. And I could go on and give you lots of examples. Perhaps one of them I'd say is we're currently rolling out a LoRaWAN network in Coventry and across areas within Warwickshire, because we've had a significant win in that area just recently. So we are picking off areas where we know there's a specific customer need, and then we're enabling those within the same area that we're deploying that network. We're enabling other organizations to access the LoRaWAN network so that they can drive their security of data transfer, have an enterprise grade network, so that they are able to utilize the same infrastructure and become smarter with the data that they're using to drive outcomes for their organization and their community.
Shall I understand that once you've deployed the LoRaWAN network in a city, the community may want to reuse it, the same network, for any other IoT use cases?
Absolutely, yeah. So the network deployment is just like any infrastructure deployment. It's a capex investment up front. You've got to put gateways, which cost money. You've got to put those up and enable connectivity across an area. Now, depending on the type of use case that an organization is using the LoRaWAN network for, will determine how many gateways you've got to put in a particular location. Some use cases need to have lots of gateways because actually the density of the network is required to be quite significant. We can talk about that in a minute when we talk about some of the specific use cases. So it requires us to invest in that infrastructure, making sure that those gateways are put in the right places, based on the radio planning that's done and the customer profile and what sort of sensors are out there. And we therefore want to make that available, not just to the original anchor customer, but to all customers, because over time, we need to provide that as an infrastructure, just like all telcos do, to ensure that over time, we're making return on the CapEx investment that we've put in up front.
You know what? When we reached out, let's say 3 years ago, I was impressed by your ability to drive success. And I tried to understand why, in fact. And I think that you applied one of the most important laws of business, that is Pareto. you are focused, right? You started as a city-wide operator focusing on smart city. And then you move to utilities and you say, Remy, we're going to be successful in utilities. That will be our focus. We will not develop other use cases first. We're going to enable the market in the UK because we think that utility is one of the main needs of the communities. Could you share some compelling project in utilities, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And there are a couple of reasons why the utility space is quite a good anchor case to use, because as I was mentioning before, some use cases require a dense network. Now, if you've already got a dense network in place, it means that the network is then going to be able to cope with pretty much any other use case that any organization might want to use it for. And in this country, unlike in others, we have water meters underground, under metal lids, in chambers below ground. And so for the water meters to be able to connect through to LoRaWAN gateways, there need to be enough LoRaWAN gateways for that to happen, because the water companies, they want to put the new water meters in, which are going to enable this AMI, advanced meter infrastructure reading, constant readings every hour, and at some points in the day, could be even 4 times an hour. They want to have this constant reading. And they want those meters to last a long time. Now, of course, those meters are underground, so they're not powered by the national grid electricity. They're not plugged in. They've got batteries in them. And those batteries have got to last a long time. So the need on the network side is to ensure that the spreading factor is the right level, to ensure the battery life is kept as long as possible. And so we've done a huge amount of work with a couple of our customers to map all of this out so that we know that we can deliver the battery life that the water utilities need. So having done a lot of that work and knowing that having a really dense network is going to be a really good first use case, we thought, let's go and work with and see if we can ensure that LoRaWAN becomes the technology of choice for water companies as they drive from the AMR drive-by meter reading environment to the AMI always connected environment. And so we entered some OJU tenders, so it's a regulated tender process, and we bid on Severn Trent Water. Now, of course, Severn Trent would have had many others that were also interested in that. It's a huge region, one of the biggest water regions. And this project was for Coventry and areas of Warwickshire around Coventry. So we, as the first project that Severn Trent was going to look at for this new type of infrastructure. So we bid on this. Now, of course, we were up against many others, and LoRaWAN was up against NB-IoT, because that's another way of enabling the transmission of the data. To cut a long story short, we got through all of the rounds, and it was clear that Severn Trent was very clear that LoRaWAN was the right technology choice. And that of the providers, because of the work that we had done to prove out how LoRaWAN would enable this with meters that are underground, under metal lids, and the spreading factor, and the keeping the battery life as long as possible, Severn Trent chose to award the contract to us. So we are absolutely delighted about that. And we're in the process now of rolling the network infrastructure out across Coventry to ensure that we can fulfill the obligations within that contract. And of course, we believe that we're going to, and our intent is to do the best job possible so that we can work with Severn Trent to expand beyond just the water metering into other use cases, Monitoring of the wastewater supply, of flood, of leakage detection, and so many other use cases that there could be that would still use the LoRaWAN infrastructure, and also expand beyond Coventry and the areas of Warwickshire that we're putting in place right now, to go well beyond and hopefully one day enable the LoRaWAN network across the whole of the Severn Trent region.
So, Ralph, I understand that you've been, let's say, evaluating all technologies for utilities and now competing with narrowband IoT. Can you summarize in 2 or 3 benefits that what LoRaWAN is bringing to the customer when you have to compete with cellular IoT, for instance?
I think that the water meter manufacturers that are using NB-IoT will tell you that the water meters on NB-IoT can also last for as long as the water companies are working for. I believe that when my team says that they've done the evaluations, and in fact, some of my team used to work at water meter manufacturers that have an NB-IoT offering. So they come with knowledge around what the difference is between them. And our experience is that the battery life is just not going to be the same with NB-IoT. And I think that's the biggest factor, because the water companies, there's a cost of the in and out, of putting the meters in and taking them out and replacing them. If you have to replace a meter, which is obviously a sealed IP68 unit, so it's it's got an integral battery and all of that kind of stuff. If you've got the need to replace, you're talking about the replacement of the cost of the meter, and you're talking about the cost of getting people to install that and take the old one out and all of those sorts of things. It's a cost over the life cycle of a contract, which is pretty significant for them to bear. So the water companies have really got to be comfortable and confident that the life of the battery is going to be what they require it to be, which is minimum 12 years up to 15 years. It's a long time to have a single device with a single battery running. So I would say that is probably the most significant. There are other things, and my technical team would be able to tell you what they think the differences are. Clearly we're a little bit biased because we favor LoRaWAN, and that's what we specialize in rolling out. But I think the biggest challenge for the water companies has been that, plus we're working with a water meter manufacturer. We're working with Itron, who has a fantastic water meter, which actually is broadcasting both from an AMI point of view so that it can connect to the LoRaWAN network, but it's also broadcasting AMR so that drive-by readings can be done. So with the single unit, the water company knows that should there be a challenge on the network, they could do a drive-by and still get the readings. Now, clearly that we would have penalties on us for not providing the robust network, but nevertheless, it protects the water utility by enabling them to do that. It also means that the water utility can put the meters in places where actually there isn't enough density of water meters to warrant the CapEx investment of the LoRaWAN gateway. So they can do the drive-by readings until that density gets to the point where it means that actually we should spend the CapEx to invest in the network. So there's a completely flexible way of enabling the water company to get to where they want to get to, with the reliability to ensure that they can have the battery life for the length of time that they need to have it, on a technology that is really cost competitive, because the cost per meter per year, which is the model that we use in terms of the data transfer. I think if you spoke to Severn Trent, they would say that actually our cost per meter per year was actually better And you know, the reason, one of the reasons, a big reason why they chose us is because they had to go for, you know, most cost advantageous solution. So I think cost is another factor in this as well.
So Ralph, I feel like, let's say, saving scarce resources like water is very important for you and Connexin. And more generally, when looking at your communication for the last 3 years, I feel like helping community improve people's life, protecting the planet, develop local economies in the UK is very, very important for you and your CEO, Furkan. We've been hours of discussion on this. You are not just making business, you are transforming also the things in the UK. And can you develop on that? How can you help more now?
Yeah, it is really important to Furkan and Alex, the two founders of the company. It's really important to all of us within the business, and it's certainly important to our investor that we are driving an agenda of transforming people's lives. Big agenda from an ESG perspective as well, environmental, social and governance. So it's you know, our mission is all about connecting the digital world with the real world. It's about elevating communities and individuals, because firstly, it's the right thing to do. And then secondly, it enables innovation. We had our huge Connexin Live event last week. It's our annual event. It's a big show. All of our customers come. And we had customers such as Sunderland City Council, Liz St. Louis, who's responsible for the Smart Cities project there, was talking about what Sunderland is doing to enable its city to be as smart as possible. And one of the projects, and that's the project we're working on with them, is around our platform. So not our LoRaWAN network. They've got an agreement in place that's a 20-year joint venture with another organization that's doing all sorts of things around 5G, and there's LoRaWAN and stuff like that. But we are providing the platform. And that platform is enabling Sunderland to help regenerate one of the poorer wards, electoral wards in Sunderland, by looking at data points around things like antisocial behavior and fly tipping, looking at council tax arrears, looking at benefit claims, at all sorts of different data points. And by utilizing that data, by putting it into the platform, we're able to show Sunderland what can be done with that data so that they change the way that they're operating the city so that they can improve the lives of the residents within that particular electoral ward. And that's a fantastic thing to be able to do. And in fact, the Connexin Live presentations will shortly be available on YouTube to be able to see. So if you're interested, if anybody's interested, they will be able to go and look and see exactly what Liz St. Louis is talking about there. And that's what it's about. If we are to enable councils, cities, utilities, and health organizations to improve their services, we have to think out of the box. We have to think differently and innovate for how those organizations operate in order to drive outcomes. Because with the best will in the world, although you and I love LoRaWAN, it's a great network technology. We love the platform. We love the sensors, and all that technology is fabulous. That's what we sell. But actually what we deliver is the outcomes to individuals and organizations. So technology is just an enabler for that. And elevating and helping to elevate those individuals and communities is the right thing to do. I remember I was talking to Emma Latimer, who we know very well. She effectively runs, I mean, she's a powerhouse and a bundle of energy. She runs areas within the NHS, and we're working with her. And she's talking about an anticipatory care model. And if you can anticipate what is likely to happen before a patient, in fact, before they become a patient, before somebody actually has to go to a hospital, if you can anticipate that and actually invest the money through technology into keeping people in their homes for longer, keeping independent living of the elderly or the frail, by the use of technology where we can use sensors, we can use a LoRaWAN network, or we can use Wi-Fi or fiber or whatever, that then enables alerts to be sent so that individuals, carers can go and intervene and help. But it's all about keeping people at home and safe and investing the money there. Then you avoid those people having to enter the system, the health system, to have a bed in the hospital. And what we tend to know is that if we have people that enter the hospital system and enter a bed in the hospital, quite often they don't leave again, because the care then happens there and it's felt that they need to continue to be there. That costs a huge amount of money for the state. It's anticipated was something like 45 to 75,000 pounds a year is what it costs to have an individual cared for in the hospital. So if you can save that by having people kept living independently by the use of smart technology, you're saving a huge amount of money for the state and for the health service, but you're also improving the life of that individual who's been independent all their life until they get to the point where they're a bit older and a bit more frail. And you extend their ability to live independently. And it improves, clearly, their mental health, their physical health, and also it's much better for the family that that person has around them in terms of supporting them. So we feel passionately about the fact that if you focus on helping individuals, communities, and organizations create better environments for those individuals and communities, that is going to make the world a better place. And we want to do that through the use of smart technology, whatever sensors are the right ones, through the LoRaWAN network, into the platform to drive those outcomes, take that data, turn it into insight, turn that into intelligence, turn that into action.
Thank you, Ralph. Inspiring. Very important that you shared your North Star. And I think it brings an additional motivation to push this massive IoT business. Let's not call it a business, hearing you. Maybe it's a way to transform things. Your willingness to play a role in the society is clear. What about enabling the developer communities in the UK, accelerating this IoT of tomorrow, solving problems that people have, of course?
Well, we are jointly investing with Team SY, South Yorkshire, in Barnsley, so in conjunction with Barnsley Metropolitan Borough Council and Barnsley's Digital Media Centre, the DMC. We're jointly investing in a program called IoT Engine, and it's a pre-accelerator for startups that have got an idea in the IoT space. They may have an idea, but they don't have necessarily the facilities to be able to make what it is that they want to make. So the great thing about the Barnsley DMC is that there's a maker lab there. So they can join the program, they get guidance through that program. The program's led by Ricky Coles and ably supported by Lauren Shale. And what Ricky and Lauren will do is give support to those entrepreneurs who are creating new technology, will enable them to use that maker lab to actually create the thing that they've got in their minds. And the more people that we can bring through accelerators like this, and there are others around, but clearly we have a vested interest in making sure that the IoT engine in Barnsley is the one that we focus in on. By enabling people to do this, we're enabling people to dream about what the future of IoT can be. And it's really exciting because people come along, we don't quite know what's in their head. They then, talk about what they're trying to do, and we help them to realize that dream. And we also then, because clearly we're a commercial organization working in partnership with that IoT engine accelerator, they create a technology, some sort of sensor or whatever it happens to be. They have an opportunity to then work with us and for us to actually commercialize that and bring that through into customer contracts that we may be pursuing with the local authorities or the utilities or health sector or in buildings, for example. So it's a great opportunity to enable innovation, new things to happen, and for us to encourage people to dream about what the art of the possible is. And I think that's key and critical. So at the Connexin Live event, we had a keynote speech given by Paul Sloan. Paul Sloan is a friend of mine for the last 20 years. He is this country's leading author on lateral thinking and innovation. I don't know, 30, 40 books to his name. And really inspirational. And he said in his keynote speech, he said, you know what IoT actually stands for? It's innovate our thinking. Because that's what we need to do. We've got technology, it can do amazing stuff, right? And we've got really clever brains within my team and within the teams of other organizations that can work out how to make that stuff work. But we have to innovate our thinking to look at dreaming about the art of the possible. If we took a data set from this use case and correlated it with a data set from that use case, what would it enable us to find out? And if we find that out, what can we do with it to drive a new, different, and better outcome for the individuals, communities, and organizations that we're trying to serve? So for us, it's really important to encourage those new people to come through and to dream and to make that dream a reality through the Maker Lab and through IoT Engine, just as one example of the things that we're doing to try and encourage that.
Sure, we are on the same page. Mindset change is the history of humanity, right? And yes. You first change the mindset, you help people to think differently, and then you realize projects concretely. But the first step is always, I think, to change the mind. It's what you are doing. Could you share the specificities of this very competitive UK IoT market today? And what are the main opportunities that you are seeing for the near future?
Well, the IoT market is competitive. And I think if we break it down into three component elements, there, to provide an end-to-end solution, you essentially, there's lots more, the technical guys would shoot me, but I'm going to make it as simple as possible, right? You've got sensors. So that's cameras, it's meters, it's sensors that are monitoring something. You've got the network connectivity. We prefer LoRaWAN, but we could connect anything up. We always talk about being network of networks, but LoRaWAN is our go-to infrastructure for IoT. And then you have the platform, which is where kind of the magic happens. The data has to go somewhere for that data to be able to be correlated and visualized, and for messages and outcomes and automation to be put in place. And there are very few end-to-end solution providers in the IoT market. You've got the traditional manufacturers of the sensors, and lots of different sensors competing with each other for the same thing. You've got lots of gateway manufacturers, and again, you make your choice as to which one you use based on, features, integration capability, the power consumption they have, or the price point even, and you put all of those together. So it's really competitive at that end. It's as I said much earlier on, it's very fragmented when it comes to the LoRaWAN network piece. You've got non-enterprise grade networks in various different pockets. You've got people trying it out, and then you've got providers like us that are providing a great LoRaWAN infrastructure that people can use with that enterprise grade. And then at the other end, you've got the platforms, and I don't know what the number is, but I would say, let's say 40 different platforms, some of which will integrate lots of different data sets. Others are very specifically focused on one or two use cases, and they're specialists in those sorts of things. So if you're a city council, you are looking at your own green agenda, and you're wondering what to do and how to capitalize on technology, you can look at the landscape and go, I just don't know where to start, because it is quite difficult to sort of work out, or do I want sensor A, B, C, or D that all say they do the same thing, and how do I connect it? Is it LoRaWAN, and or is it MBIT, or is it something else? And if it is, then who do I use? And likewise, from a platform point of view, do I have 5 different platforms that are specialists, or do I have one platform that brings it all together? So it's really hard. In fact, I was at a local government partner network event in, I don't know, November-ish time last year. I gave a presentation on what we were doing with Hull City Council. And I had people come up to me afterwards from all sorts of different local government outfits, and they all came to me and they said, we know we need to do something, we just don't quite know what to do, and we feel we're behind. So I say to them, well, you might feel that because actually Hull is well ahead of almost everybody with what they've been doing. So if you use Hull as a benchmark, then you're bound to feel that you're behind. So actually you're not. Let's work with you, work out how we can first off think about the outcomes you're trying to drive, and then we'll work out what the right technology choices are and put all of that together. But I do think that there are, the first part of what those people were saying to me is right, that they know they need to do something, they're just not quite sure where to start because it is quite fragmented. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to say, look, we are an end-to-end service provider. If you want to have everything from sensors through network, through platform from us, we'll provide that. But actually, if you just want the network, in the case of Severn Trent, that's what we'll give you, because they've got Itron's water meters and they're using their Temetra platform. So we'll just provide the network. If you want just platform, that's okay. That's what Sunderland wanted. So that's what we provide to Sunderland. And we'll try and help make something simple out of what is quite a complex and competitive environment in the UK, to try and make it easy for them to drive the outcomes which will improve the lives of the individuals in their communities, and also help them to reduce costs, which means they've got more money available to pump into other projects like the regeneration project that we were talking about before within Sunderland, to help elevate those communities. So yeah, definitely it's competitive, but it's a rich market, and one which we're very excited about working in, because there is a huge amount of untapped opportunity.
Ralph, since you are well established in the UK market today, you've taken the lead in verticals like utilities or smart city. What would be the next step for your LoRaWAN public network?
I think the next step is to just keep on expanding it. We need to keep winning new contracts which enable us to invest in the network and to roll it out into other areas. And that then enables not just the utilities or the councils that say that they're going to take a service and they want us to make this investment in this rollout, but it enables anyone and everyone to make use of this technology, in order that people can start innovating and doing different things so that this kind of technology becomes part of normal life, so that no longer do I get people coming up to me saying, we know we need to do something, but we're not quite sure what to do, because people will be used to knowing that this technology exists and can start to think about how to use it in different ways. So for us, it's all about increasing that footprint of the network, enabling that network to be available to anybody who wants to use it to generate and transport smart data, which enables their organizations or their communities to get a little bit smarter and to do things differently. So that's what we want to do. We want to have a ubiquitous network available in the right parts of the country, so we've got this national infrastructure, and just provide it for the people that need to make use of it.
Before we close the interview, what if you could give one message to UK IoT customers today? What would it be?
My message would be to think about the outcomes first, and then we can work out how to dream together about what the art of the possible is, right? So what are we trying to achieve? Is it regeneration of an area? Is it anticipatory care model? Is it to marshal the scarce resources that we have of water? We're an island surrounded by water, but actually the water that we drink and that we use daily is a scarce commodity. So let's look at those outcomes first, then let's look at what sorts of data collected in what way, from where, how, using what technology is going to enable the different outcome that you're looking to achieve. And while it can seem like a complex environment, lots of things to think about, different organizations to talk to, we can simplify that. We can help to actually be very clear about what are those outcomes and then what technology will enable you to get there. So let us help simplify it and enable UK IoT customers to make use of the technology and to drive those outcomes.
Interesting. If I want to engage with Connexin for further discussion, what do I do?
Well, you can get in touch with me directly. My email address is r.varcoe, V-A-R-C-O-E, at Connexin, connexin.co.uk. Clearly, you can go to the website, connexin.co.uk. You can find out everything there is to know about us on the fiber side of the business as well, because that's really interesting. And you can find out everything you want to know about IoT. But I would say your journey will start by taking action. So send me an email or get in touch through the website and fill in the form to go through to marketing. We'll be in touch and we'll set up a conversation and we'll look at how we can dream up how to use the data to enable the outcomes that you're looking to achieve.
Great. So it was an awesome conversation. It was our first episode. So we are honored to have you, Ralph. A great thanks to Ralph and Connexin. Thanks to all of you listening to the podcast. You'll have the recordings on our landing page. Feel free to register on the WAN Network Show. Follow us on LinkedIn. Stay tuned. Next interview to come in a few weeks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes and sign up for new episode alerts.